IEDs happen. They started developing IEDs.
281,000 built, 40 years on the front lines, and on April 30th, 2025, one memo killed it. The vehicle that carried American soldiers through Panama, through the Gulf War, through Fallujah, through Kandahar, labeled wasteful, obsolete, and excess by the United States Secretary of Defense and canceled on the spot. The question is, what took so long? And what does the U.S. soldier climb into next? By the end of this video, you will know exactly why America's most iconic military truck had to go, what it cost in blood and dollars to learn that lesson, and what is now rolling into its place. If you have ever wondered why the military keeps driving the same truck your grandfather saw on the news in 1991, and why that just changed, subscribe now. Daily Soldier breaks down the decisions that actually matter. The truck that replaced everything. Before the Humvee, the U.S. military ran a scattered fleet of aging Jeeps, Dodge M37 trucks, Gamma Goat carriers, and commercial utility cargo vehicles. None standardized, none modern, none built for the battlefield the Cold War was threatening to produce. The Army released draft specifications in 1979 for a single vehicle to replace all of them. One truck, every job. A M General won the competition. On January 2, 1985, the first Humvee rolled off the line in Mishawaka, Indiana. The military called it the Humvee. The rest of the world eventually just called it the Hummer. The specs were serious, between 5,200 and 5,900 pounds at curb weight. A 6.2-liter GM Detroit diesel V8. Top speed over 70 miles per hour. Operational range of 250 to 350 miles. 7 feet 1 inch wide with a 16-inch ground clearance that lets it straddle terrain that would swallow a commercial truck whole. It fords water up to 1.5 meters deep without a kit. It fits inside C-130s, C-17s, CH-47s, and CH-53s. One platform, 15 configuration, medic, gun truck, command post. Recon, ambulance. When the Gulf War kicked off in 1991, the world watched it dominate Saudi desert and Kuwaiti roads. For a generation of Americans, watching the news from home, watching their family members deploy, that wide, loud, unmistakable vehicle became the symbol of American military capability. By 2026, 281,000 had been built, one of the most widely produced military vehicles in American history, a cultural icon long before it became a civilian brand. But there was one problem baked into the Humvee from the day it was conceived, a problem the Army did not reckon with until thousands of soldiers had already paid the price for it. The desert made it famous, Iraq broke it. The Gulf War was a showcase, fast movement, open terrain, a conventional enemy. The Humvee was perfectly built for exactly that fight. Then came Iraq, and everything changed. The Humvee was engineered for Cold War battlefield Europe, fast movement against Soviet forces, not survival against roadside bombs in urban Iraqi streets. Its floor was thin aluminum. Its doors were soft skin. Its underside was not hardened against blast. When the insurgency shifted from conventional warfare to IED ambushes in 2003 and 2004, the gap between what the vehicle was designed for and what it was being asked to do became a matter of life and death for every soldier riding in it. The numbers are brutal. In just the first 4 months of 2006, 67 U.S. troops died in roadside bomb attacks on their Humvees, up from 27 in the same period of 2005. Insurgents were getting smarter, shifting to more powerful devices, new triggering mechanisms, and explosively formed penetrators, EFPs, that punched through even add-on armor plating. EFPs alone killed 196 American soldiers in Iraq over 5.5 years. The Army's response was fast and visible. Armor plates bolted to the sides, heavier doors, floor mats, steel panels welded to roofs. But the Humvee's chassis was never designed to carry that weight. More armor meant more weight, meant slower movement, meant more time in the kill zone, meant more IED hits. The engine strained, The suspension suffered. The vehicle designed to be nimble became a lumbering, overloaded target. Every soldier riding in one knew it. The Pentagon procured 29,000 mine-resistant ambush-protected vehicles, MRAPs, in emergency acquisition to replace Humvees on front lines. The MRAP's V-shaped hull deflected blast energy outward instead of channeling it upward into the crew. It saved lives, but it was massive, heavy, terrible off-road, and impossible to airlift. It was an emergency answer to an emergency threat, never meant to be the permanent fleet. The real answer was going to have to be built from scratch. The $6.7 billion replacement. The planning started in 2006, not after the wars ended, but right in the middle of the worst of them. The concept was straightforward in ambition, even if it was extraordinarily complex in execution. Build one vehicle that combined the MRAP's blast protection with the Humvee's agility. No trade-off between survivability and mobility. Both, that became the Joint Light Tactical Vehicle. The JLTV, 3 contractors competed: AM General, Lockheed Martin, and Oshkosh Defense. Oshkosh won in August 2015 with a $6.7 billion low-rate initial production contract to build the initial 16,901 vehicles for the Army and Marines. Their LATV was built around the TAC-4i Intelligent Independent Suspension, adjusting in real time to terrain changes, giving it off-road capability the Humvee never had. In testing, it demonstrated 7,051 mean miles between operational mission failures. It goes into a CH-47, C-130, C-17, and C-5. It arrives ready to use. The protection is where everything changed for the soldier in the seat. The JLTV was not armored after the fact. Blast management was engineered into the chassis from day one. Floor geometry, seat mounts, hull shape, all designed to redirect blast energy away from the crew. In the Humvee, an IED under the road sent energy straight up through the floor. In the JLTV, that physics goes somewhere else, not a marginal improvement. The difference between walking away and not. Then Representative Mike Gallagher put it plainly: the JLTV combines the protection of the MRAP, which was so critical in Iraq and Afghanistan, with the agility of a Humvee. Engine: 6.6-liter Dormax diesel, up to 445 horsepower, 910 pound-feet of torque. Allison 2500 SP6 speed, automatic. More than 100 mission package configurations. Everything the Humvee did, built to survive what the Humvee could not. The cost runs between $300,000 and $400,000 per unit, against an up-armored Humvee at approximately $220 in 2011 dollars. More expensive per vehicle. But the right comparison was never vehicle-to-vehicle cost. It was vehicle cost against the cost of what happened when the vehicle failed the people inside it. Before we go further, if this is landing differently than you expected, hit the like button right now. 2 seconds. It tells the algorithm to show this to more people. Now back to the story. The comparison that changes everything. Side by side, what the soldier had and what was built to replace it. The Humvee, curb weight, 5,200 to 5,900 pounds. Ground clearance 16 inches, top speed over 70 miles per hour. Blast protection, none by original design. After add-on armor, heavier, slower, structurally stressed. Underbody, aluminum floor. Cost up armored, approximately $220. Total produced, 281,000. Still in U.S. service, 100,000 vehicles expected to remain until at least 2050. The JLTV, base weight, approximately 14,000 pounds, more than double. Engine, 6.6-liter Dormax diesel. TAC-4i independent suspension. Underbody blast protection engineered in from the chassis up, comparable to MRAP class. Mean miles between operational mission failure, 7,051. Power export, up to 120 kilowatts AC in the ProPulse diesel-electric variant. Air transportable across every major U.S. airlift platform. Cost, $300 to $400 per unit. Total planned Army procurement, 49,099 vehicles. Marine Corps, 5,500. The protection philosophy is the decisive difference. The Humvee's armor was always reactive, added after the threat was understood onto a chassis designed before anyone imagined that threat. The JLTV's protection was engineered in before production started. That single shift from bolt-on to built-in is what the person in the seat actually experiences when the road goes wrong. The electronics gap matters equally. The JLTV carries integrated C4ISR capability, command, control, communications, computers, intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance from production. The Humvee needed constant retrofitting to carry communications equipment that was never accounted for in its original design, adding weight to a chassis that had no margin left. The JLTV has that margin. The soldier driving it has what they need from the moment they get in. Now here is where the story turns. The vehicle that finally got the engineering right, the one built specifically so that what happened in Iraq never happened again, has itself just been canceled. Not because it failed the soldiers, because the war it was designed for is over. What mainstream coverage never touches. On April 30th, 2025, Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth released a memo called Army Transformation and Acquisition Reform. It called for the end of procurement of obsolete systems and excess ground vehicles, naming the Humvee. Army Secretary Dan Driscoll and Army Chief of Staff General Randy George followed the next day, naming both the Humvee and the JLTV for cancellation. The Humvee cancellation makes sense on its face. 40 years old, its record in Iraq speaks for itself. But the JLTV, the $6.7 billion program, the vehicle purpose built to fix everything the Humvee could not, was canceled in the same breath. The replacement for the Humvee was canceled alongside the Humvee. Why? Army Vice Chief of Staff General James Mingus testified before the House Armed Services Readiness Subcommittee on May 13, 2025. The Army had already acquired approximately 20,000 JLTVs. That was enough. We have enough JLTVs. We've bought enough already. The freed procurement money goes into rapid modernization for light formations, built for the Indo-Pacific. The strategic logic is the pivot to the Pacific. An army preparing to deter China across ocean distances and island and maritime environments does not need more armored trucks optimized for counterinsurgency roads in Iraq. The threat environment changed. The procurement follows. That is how it is supposed to work. But here is what the coverage missed almost universally. The Marine Corps was not consulted. Marine Corps Commandant General Eric Smith testified before Congress in June 2025 that the Marines were blindsided by the Army's unilateral exit from the program. The Marines are keeping the JLTV as their frontline vehicle, but without the Army's buying power behind the production line. The unit cost for every remaining Marine vehicle and every Allied purchase just increased. Canada has approved $220 million for JLTV A2 acquisitions. 6 other countries are in the foreign military sales pipeline. All of them now pay more because the Army walked away. The JLTV was a joint program canceled without consulting the other joint partners. That is the institutional fracture the mainstream retirement headlines never explained. What U.S. soldiers get next? The Army's stated answer is the Infantry Squad Vehicle, the ISV, built on a Chevrolet Colorado Z R2 commercial chassis. Seats 9 soldiers with full kit. Lighter, faster, and cheaper than the JLTV, and built on a philosophy that is a complete reversal of everything that came before it. The doctrine behind the ISV, in a peer conflict against an enemy with drone surveillance and precision strike capability, a large armored vehicle on a road is not protection. It is a target. Speed and dispersion are the new armor. Get soldiers to the edge of the fight fast, get them out of the vehicle, and disperse before the vehicle can be targeted. No armor stops a drone dropping through the roof hatch with an anti-tank munition. Movement stops it, disappearing stops it. That doctrine makes sense in specific scenarios. It is contested in others. The Marine Corps looked at the same drone-era battlefield and made the opposite bet, that a capable armored platform equipped with counter-drone systems is the answer, not trading armor for speed. The JLTV 82 was built with 250 engineering improvements, specifically including a 24-volt lithium-ion power system to run counter-drone electronics in the field. The Marines believe the vehicle survives the drone age if it can shoot back. The Army believes no wheeled vehicle survives it, and lighter is therefore better. Both services looked at the same threat and reached opposite conclusions. History will decide which one was right through the soldiers who end up in those vehicles when the answer gets tested for real. For rear echelon roles, logistics, administration, command post movement, training, the Army is looking at commercial off-the-shelf platforms. The Mercedes G-Wagon serves in military roles across more than 60 countries. The concept is purpose-built protected vehicles for the front, commercial platforms for everything behind it. The 100,000 Humvees still in service are not disappearing on any short timeline. The Humvee is expected to remain in U.S. military service until at least 2050. Ambulance variants will outlast everything. The JLTV cannot serve that role due to weight constraints. The Humvee's last long mission may be the one it was always quietly best at, keeping someone alive long enough to reach care. Answering the question, why is the Humvee dead, and what does the U.S. soldier get in its place? The Humvee is dead because it was built for a war that no longer exists. Designed in 1979 for a Cold War confrontation in European terrain, sent instead to Iraqi streets against an enemy that figured out within 2 years how to defeat every layer of armor that could be bolted onto a chassis never meant to carry it. The deaths that followed were a failure of doctrine and a failure to retire a platform when the battlefield it was designed for had already changed beyond recognition. The JLTV got the engineering right. It took the IED era seriously in metal and physics rather than in memos. It was canceled not because it failed, but because the strategic priority shifted away from the wars that made its development urgent. The IV reflects the Army's reading of the next threat: drones, not bombs in the road, and no wheeled vehicle survives one by being armored. That reading may prove correct. It may need revision the moment the next conflict produces ground truth from the people actually in those vehicles. It always does. The measure of this decision will not be made in a procurement office. It will be made by the soldiers whose lives depend on whether the calculation was right. Close, and when the last Humvee finally does roll off an American battlefield, wherever that is. Whenever that is, it will carry with it something no procurement memo can cancel: the memory of every road it covered, every patrol it completed, every soldier who came home because it held, and everyone who did not because it could not hold enough. It was not a failure. It was a vehicle asked to do something it was never built to do, in a war nobody planned for, against an enemy that adapted faster than the institutions supplying the trucks. That is not a story about a bad vehicle. It is a story about the distance between what a country builds in peacetime and what its soldiers face when the shooting starts. That distance has cost American lives in every generation. The obligation to close it before the next war, not during it, belongs to everyone who makes these decisions. The drone era is that gap all over again. Faster, less forgiving. The soldier climbing into whatever comes next deserves a better answer than the one that arrived too late in Iraq. If Daily Soldier is giving you the real picture behind the headlines, subscribe. Every decision that affects the people who wear the uniform gets this treatment here. And from everything you now know, was the real failure the Humvee itself, or the time it took the institution to admit it was the wrong tool for the job?